Good afternoon, beautiful people. You're like my middle schoolers. I talk to them and they just blink. One more time, brothers and sisters. Good afternoon, beautiful people. Excellent. So I start this talk off, when I was asked to speak, such an honor and humbled by an opportunity to speak to brothers and sisters of Pittsburgh. And I said, you know what, let's just get honest from the very beginning. And I want to tell you, really, this talk is really about embracing the scribble of life. We often say it's something else, but let's just really get clear all together now. We're all making it up as we go along, right? Just everybody take off. Yes, exactly. So here's the thing. We tell the story of our life like this, right? Like it's this perfect arc, right? Let's all have a moment. The further you're along on the chain, you're like, absolutely. But then we tell everybody, when we're experiencing it, it looks like this, a big hot mess, a big hot mess. Today, I only have questions, really. I don't have any answers, but things that I would like to talk to you about and to speak to your soul about. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Michelle King. I'm the Learning Instigator. And I figured as we're making stuff up, I might as well make up what my title is. So I went with Learning Instigator. And that's primarily because Beyonce and Shakira were already taken. Almost as sexy, but very good. So here's the thing. Here's my life story. I was born in 1968, which means I'm over 18 and under 65. How old am I? Quick bonus point. Oh, I'm sorry, 26. No, actually, I'm 46, and to young people that I teach, that just means you're straight up old. But brothers and sisters, I'm embracing the inner cougar, all right? I can now get it. I totally get it, to be fierce. So here's the thing. Here we go. Here is a giant scribble. Are we still with me? Yes, beautiful. So I was conceived here in Ethiopia, but born in California, and I'm an Army brat. And I spent my whole kind of youth traveling around the country, around North Carolina, California, and West Germany. So that's how old I am when there was a West Germany. And what that told me in life is that change is a constant, and that there's uncertainty always, right? So I go back to California. I really want to go to university, and I go, UCLA, yes, awesome. I don't know anything about it. I'd spent the previous 5 years in Germany, and so I was really amazed about how psychic people in California were, because when I got there and someone said, oh, you're African American, I was like, how'd you know? My mom's African and my dad's American. So I'm a little slow too, just if you follow me. From there, I quietly left UCLA and went to USC, and I decided I wanted to study international relations because it's the 80s, and I am going to be a Cold War warrior. I'm going to crush the Russians. That's what I've been told. Now, no disrespect to my Russian brothers and sisters, but that's just what the story I was told in the 80s. But here's the thing, brothers and sisters. The Cold War ended, and so that really kind of changed my life plan. So here I am at Plan Z. I had prepared to retire as a big diplomat and everything. So at that moment, confused, bewildered, not knowing what to do, I came to Pittsburgh. And I thought, okay, well, here are answers. I came with someone who I'd love to start a new life here. And what could I do? I wasn't going to be a Cold War warrior. I really loved learning. I was really interested in learning, and that was something that I was embrace. And I wanted to do something honorable. And it's nice having an immigrant parent because they just say, get a damn job. So I was like, okay, well, I want to be a teacher. So I decided, get a teaching degree on top of my international relations, and I'm really going to go to the toughest streets and teach and really bring my craft. So then I went to Mount Lebanon, and that's where I spent, I know. Just a little. We need to take care of parts of our city, brothers and sisters. So there I taught U.S. history to 8th graders for over 16 years and really built my craft with a beautiful group of people and teachers and people committed to learning. And in that time, in that 16 years, education had shifted. Education always had to be about scarcity. You had to come to a certain place to get knowledge. You had to get that fixed body of knowledge. It only could be gotten from a certain amount of people. But in fact, here we are in another midst of change, right? Now we're looking at learning where you can happen to learn anywhere, from any time, from any place, and that totally changes the dynamics of what we do. It changes the dynamics of what I do as a teacher. And so at some point, our superintendent at the time said, let's have a conversation about learning. And I said, great. And posed this question, is Rome burning? What is our role as educators, as schools, as communities when we're in this abundance of knowledge? And what does that mean for everybody? Well, we're also looking at learning happening all the time, that we're driven by passions and interests. And I would teach kids who knew so much, but then would be failing a class. It was like, how could that kid be failing math when he taught himself how to code? And I said, we got to think about things differently. And I started thinking about, what is the purpose of education? You know, when you're in it for a while, you go, well, that's actually not quite what I thought it was. And then I saw this graphic. And this really kind of blew my mind, because what it says essentially, particularly K through 12, is that less than 20% of learning happens in formal spaces. But we really know that. I mean, think about the kids that skateboard or do activities outside, and they're doing it over and over again, and they're teaching, they're going to the library, or they're showing something on the internet, or they're making something on YouTube. Clearly, learning is happening outside of these formal spaces, and yet we treat each other with such aggression. Teachers, students, communities to perform in a certain way, and then in fact, only so much learning is happening in those spaces. So now what? Which is often what my kids would say. They would say things like, I can't wait to start my life after I leave school. I'm like, this is your life, you know that. Like, this isn't a starter pack, that you get and then you start your life. So why do we have this kind of separation? So once again, I came to abandon the plans that I had, because now I'm comforted by just total uncertainty. And I said, I'm going to shift this conversation. And I left a place that had stability, that was doing really well by certain standards. And I said, I want to go to a place that's starting a conversation and wanting to talk about the things that I'm interested in. And so I left to go to the environmental charter school a couple years ago, 3 years ago, in fact. And they were talking about many of the values that I was interested in, and having an intelligent discourse about education. What is the purpose of it? What are we doing for our young people? Are we educating just from the head up, or are we educating the whole child? Is education, if you think about it, it has very much been driven by this idea of a kind of economic imperative. But I would ask the latter part, is education about making a living, or is it really about making a life? And sit with that. Because at some point in our lives we say, and now what? And we've been sold this dream that if we did all these things and we went to the right university and we got all these things in it, we would be happy. But I say there's a whole lot after that. So let's think about remaking learning. And in order to do that, and the city's doing incredibly well with some of the infrastructure and connecting together, that we need to have a new kind of metaphor, new ways of kind of bridging ourselves together and to think about education differently. It cannot be about winning, because in that case, then we also have losers. And education is not about losing. It's how can we make people brilliant? In fact, I would say now, after teaching for 20 years, I can't teach, but I can create the conditions for people to be brilliant, right? So if we think about it in terms of an ecosystem, right? Doesn't have to be one person at the top, but in fact, many people coming together. A tree doesn't say to a river like, oh, I'm better than you. I have something more to offer. And yet our systems of education often do that. That for a kid, even in our own community, who was never going to do well on a math test, but taught us most about love and taught us most about how to come together. We all have something to offer ourselves as a community. Are we making our people community ready? Are our systems reminding us about who we are? Reminding us that we are naturally empathic and that we're all interconnected. And that in fact, the suffering in some part of the city is the suffering for all of us. That if people don't have access to food and books and great air, right, that we're all affected by those dynamics. So think about this idea of eudaimonia. How do we create the conditions for people to flourish? All people, not some people, but all people to flourish. How do we look at the whole child, the whole body, right? I mean, we educate in ways and then we ask people to sit in one place. And that is not possible. We have been in movement for thousands of years. That in fact, our real brilliance, people are brilliant just exercising with their body. Think about dancers, Think about athletes. And all of us require this level of movement. If you had to replicate a child's schedule, it would be bone-crushing, right? It would be bone-crushing, and yet we ask our young people to do these kind of things. But we really need to bring two things together, and that is the heart and mind. And in that way, we really can talk to each other, really speak to each other. So, brothers and sisters, I came to make a dent in the universe. More than likely, it might be a big hot mess and fail. And I think about this. At best, I will have 30,000 days. I should have been a little more efficient and I've already burned through about 17,144, or at least 144 and a half today. It took the Grand Canyon 1,825,000,000 days to be formed. Clearly, I've overextended what I can actually do in my life. Some of the biggest things that I think are important and critical may not ever be solved while I'm living. Racism, poverty, how we look at discipline in some people in our communities and how that relegates them to the school-to-prison pipeline. But there is no one to blame, brothers and sisters, because every day I get up and understand that we're making it up as we go along. And every day and in every moment, I'm building the society that I want to live in. Even with knowing that it may not be accomplished, all those things that I believe in, but in every moment, in every conversation, I'm building the society that I want to live in. In every investment in a child, and every time that I acknowledge a dream, and every time that I say I understand what you're feeling, I'm helping to build the society that I want to live in. So, brothers and sisters, embrace the scribble. Let's be gentle with ourselves. We don't have control of all these things that we have control in, that we believe we have control in, but we have the capacity to build the world that we want to build. And let's build bridges back to each other, back to our hearts. I have been the beneficiary of Pittsburghers who have loved me, Smiths and Shavers and Karrases and Lupteks and Ameses and Carlins and a whole host of names. And I'm an embodiment and a reflection of that love. May we all do that work to build the society that we want to live in, and particularly to keep Pittsburgh thriving. I thank you for your time and your energy and your presence.